Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome to Spirit Speakeasy. I'm Joy Giovanni, Joyful Medium. I'm a working psychic medium, energy healer, and spiritual gifts mentor. This podcast is like a seat at the table in a secret club, but with mediums, mystics, and the spiritual luminaries of our time. So come behind the velvet ropes with me and see inside my world as I chat insider style with profoundly gifted souls. We go deep, share juicy stories, laugh a lot, and it wouldn't be a speakeasy without great insider secrets and tips. You might even learn that you have some gifts of your own. So step inside the Spirit Speakeasy. Hey, beautiful soul, welcome back or welcome in for another episode of Spirit Speakeasy. This is going to be a solo chat, just you and I, and I'm really excited to dive into this topic with you. It's not something that I've shared about yet, but it's something I've been working on for a while. I made some notes for myself as usual, so I'm going to read off my notes and I'm also going to add and talk, but I had this feeling within myself. You know, we're always trying to achieve balance, has been the catchphrase or the goal for so many years that now that I can remember. And the feeling here is, does the idea of constantly thinking about being in balance or how far out of balance you are in different areas of your life leave you feeling like a constant failure? That's how I was feeling. We all have so many different roles that we play in life, and of course, different phases in our life. I'm going to take a quick sip of water. But we have so many things going on at the same time. So maybe you have your work life, and maybe you have your responsibilities as a parent. Maybe you have other responsibilities as head of household or as a partner. We have so many different things that we're doing at all times. Plus, we're supposed to be thinking about our nutrition and our wellness and getting some kind of exercise or moving our physical body and getting fresh air and also meditating. And don't forget relaxing, to where it just feels, or has felt for me in the past, like I'm failing because there's just no way I can get all these things in. And even when I am trying to micromanage my schedule and get everything really dialed in, I just noticed that there were times where I kind of felt like a wet dish rag. I felt like I needed to flop, and I just couldn't keep up with my own pace, my own schedule, my own to-do list. I tend to be a bit of an overachiever, which I know many of you that listen would identify that way as well. And so there's this feeling of like always needing to add in one more thing. And, sometimes I could do it really successfully, even though I could often feel myself running out of steam over time, but I just would push and push and push, particularly when I had kids still at home, but even now. And really, I just would get to this point where I would get exhausted, and then it would be the bare minimum, or things would fall behind, or I just wouldn't be, I'd end up with like 3 different to-do lists. And so things would be getting left off and I'd feel kind of frazzled. And, never mind having my daily meditation practice that I was trying to work in, and trying to, at the time I had a primary business as a massage therapist and was also training in mediumship, the time period I'm most thinking about. So trying to also do like mediumship on the side and take readings here and there, and, make sure I'm practicing and getting that done, and make sure I'm walking and moving my physical body and stretching and all the things I said before. And so for me, that wasn't working. And it actually felt like I was constantly in this marathon with no finish line and fully exhausted in many ways. And then I was like, well, surely this doesn't feel like balance either. So I have kind of decided that what they, quote unquote, whether it's the wellness industry or whoever it is that came up with the word balance, what they've been selling us is a load of BS. So over recent months and years, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this is something I've been looking at and working on for myself. And one of the most requested topics that I have had, either when I was doing talks on YouTube or in the podcast now, has been to let you guys in on what areas of personal development I've been working on, and to share my thoughts or my process. I'm going to take a quick sip of water again. It's dry today. So that's what we're going to do. So I've really been exploring the topic of shifting from this idea of having balance, imaginary, elusive balance, to the idea of having ebb and flow or rise and fall. The idea of ebb and flow can also be thought of or compared to the idea of cycles. And this concept of cycles is so innate and ingrained in each of us that we probably don't even often realize or notice all of the cycles happening all around us at all times. Even like, for example, the natural cycle of our world is something that's constantly around us, ongoing in every moment from the moment we arrive here onto this planet in a body. Life cycles, I think of things like the human life cycle, like that aging cycle, right? Animals have a life cycle, plants have a life cycle, even seasons are a part of this quote unquote life cycle. There are also reciprocal energy cycles happening. And what I mean by that, and the easiest example that I can come up with is the idea of photosynthesis. So remember when you were in school and you planted that bean seed in a cup and it grew a little sprout. So essentially that cycle of plants releasing carbon dioxide, or releasing oxygen, taking in carbon dioxide, using photosynthesis to give the nutrients and grow their little leaves and plants and roots and fruits and all the things. Um, Clearly, it's been a while since I've been in middle school or elementary school science classes, but I think we all kind of know the idea of photosynthesis. So even a cycle like that is going on constantly all the time in the background. Our respiratory cycle, even just us breathing in air, which then, as we know, goes to our blood and oxygenates the cells and helps everything work in our body, breathing out carbon dioxide and waste that our body can't use. So we have so many cycles going on all the time that it just started to, I don't know, come to me or make sense to me, or I processed it in over time. This idea of like, well, why are we trying to do all the things in equal proportion at all times when really the natural way of things is more of this idea of cycling? So the way I've been evaluating it and learning to work with it is like this. Flow for me is when the energy is moving, when I'm feeling productive, when things seem to be like quote unquote moving forward, and or like falling into place. Things are getting checked off my to-do list and aha moments are happening. And I'm just feeling like I have more capacity to get extra things done. Sometimes it's as part of it, my body is naturally like waking up earlier or not feeling as I'm not the most morning person, even though I really want to be. I don't feel like as much like, oh, can I just lay back down for 30 more minutes? I might not be like springing to my feet, but I just have a little more energy earlier in the day. I notice even my mood doesn't feel as heavy. Something, there's a lightness about the way I'm moving through the world, the way I'm moving through my day. Ideas are just coming in, like I said. So this for me is the flow state of ebb and flow. And I'm wondering for you as we talk about this, if you can kind of identify this pattern or this cycle in your own space. For a while, I was getting a little bit freaked out about it, quite honestly. Let me talk about the ebb state and then I'll talk about myself. So, ebb, the definition from Google Oxford Definitions, and it's the second definition I took, was of an emotion or quality gradually lesser or reduce. So, essentially, ebb is like that drifting away, lessening, reduction of. Sometimes for me, oh, and then the next little part of that definition was as like the example, my enthusiasm was ebbing away. And sometimes for me, it literally feels like my enthusiasm is ebbing away. Like I just don't got it. Sometimes I'm receiving quiet inspiration during these ebb times. And then what I've been doing is just kind of making some notes, because often when I'm in that ebb, like I said, I'm just more drained. So I don't necessarily feel like I can take immediate action on, like maybe I'll get an inspiration for a course I want to teach or a meditation I want to do with one of my groups, and I might not detail it out right then. I just might write some notes about it and then just kind of leave it for a time when I am feeling more inspired. Because I'm also, as we've talked about here before, I'm also trying to practice a little more gentleness with myself and not be so much of a hard coach inside, you know. I don't know if you guys did sports when you were young, but there are those coaches that are just really tough. And sometimes I have that voice in my head that's like a tough on the team kind of a coach. So just trying to be a little more gentle with myself, because when I'm in this ebb state, sometimes, like I said, sometimes I'm receiving quiet inspiration and I make the notes, but I often need more rest during these periods of ebb or feel like extra drained. Sometimes I feel a lot less like peopling. And so I'll notice either I don't want to make plans, even though it's not that I don't want to see my friends. I mean, I have carefully cultivated the friends in my life and I love each and every one of them. It's not that I don't like them. It's just sometimes even just being outside, like out in the world, just kind of feels like a lot. And I'm going to keep talking about, of course, sometimes we just have things we got to do depending on the stage of life that you're in or what you have in your personal world. But I just feel a lot less like peopling is the way that I would say it. And I think most of you know what I mean by that. Or I just don't have the bandwidth for things like, being on social media very much. So for those of you that notice, sometimes when I'm extra quiet on socials, this is sometimes why. It's just I don't have the bandwidth to like also be I guess the woo-woo way to say it is like taking in and doing that energy exchange, because when we're focusing on something, right, giving it space in our mind, feeling it, looking at it, it's taking up time and space and energy in us. And I just don't have the extra energy to be like, unless I'm looking at duck videos or like the cute little fuzzy animals, probably I don't have the bandwidth for socials. So again, if you notice that there's times where I'm a little quieter, that's often why. I'm just honoring what I need in that moment. And the ebb often feels more like a going within. Sometimes I want to be creative or artistic. It's often when I'm like painting or doing crafts or doing other like spiritual workings that I enjoy. Sometimes I'm like, I was thinking recently I repotted some plants during this kind of a phase because I just kind of felt like it. And it felt creative, and I don't know, it was a different way to use the energy. I had like done some clippings and rooted them or germinated them. No, it's not germination. It's the other one. And planted them, and I was just kind of rearranging them and putting some together in different pots, etc. So it felt a little bit creative. So sometimes I'm doing something like that. Sometimes I'm cleaning, or like the way I sometimes think of it is like nesting. But usually it's things that have nothing like directly to do with my work. Of course, I might still be seeing clients during that time because that's just the way my schedule works. But I really am often trying to not put extra pressure on myself or put extra things on my plate. And this cycle's been part of me like forever. But I think, at different times in our life when the busyness is high or when we have a lot of responsibility on us personally as an individual, and we maybe don't feel as supported by having other people to take parts of our heavy load in life, whatever it is for you, sometimes we don't have as much freedom to say like, oh, I'm going to take it easy during this period. Sometimes we have, depending on your work and the nature of your family and all the other things you have going on in your life, it might just be a phase for you or a period of your life where it feels a little harder to identify the ebb and flow. But often we can identify it just in our own emotions, just in the kind of the energy level that we have physically, mentally. There's times when I'm in the flow state. For me, I find a meditation practice pretty much daily is important for my mediumship and really just helps me to be a better human. So there's certainly been times when I'm in kind of that ebb state where I will skip my meditation because I need the extra sleep. And sometimes it's why, like, if you fall asleep in your meditation, sometimes I often get asked about that. You might be in a little bit of an ebb state and just needing that checkout time. So Other times I want to do things like, so it's not always me being creative, right? Because if I'm feeling more drained, sometimes I just don't have the energy to do anything. Sometimes I want to like read or watch documentaries. I love those like um, historical and geographical shows too. So I'm a little bit of a nerd for that kind of TV, like Discovery and Nat Geo and all that. Not a sponsorship, just like them. And I like to spend a lot of time alone during those times, or sometimes being quiet. Sometimes like I'm a lot more quiet, or I'm not as engaged with the people in my life. And it could be for a whole like little period of time. It could just be for like a day. It could be for half a day. But usually it's more of a cycle. And if I'm honest, a lot of the time when I'm in the ebb state, I would identify it during those periods. I'm in a bit of a flow state right now, so I'm feeling okay. But I would identify it as feeling like uninspired or even unmotivated, which feels judgmental in the words. So I've been shifting to trying to think of it as quieting between surges, because we know we're going to surge again, right? We know that depending, like I said, on your work and what you do, things like grocery shopping probably has to happen in your world, and someone's got to make the meals and feed the body and, make sure the bills get paid and whatever it is for you. So there's things that are always ongoing. But for me, I really have been trying to think about it as the quieting between surges. The word recharge or like rest period, those words don't really resonate for me, but they might for you. I know maybe it's just I've heard it so much and it's become so common to say like recharge, like I need to recharge. So that word just doesn't resonate with me anymore. But if it resonates with you, that's kind of the energy of what I'm talking about. And sometimes more emotions are also bubbling up during this time. And sometimes it's when I'm feeling, you guys know I don't like this word, but like stuck, quote unquote. And it's not really stuck like I think, oh, the energy's against me or like something something's holding me down. It's not like that. It's more just like I feel like something I've been working on just like isn't moving forward the way it could be, or like even if I'm working on like a personal creative project, I just feel like, oh, this painting's not done and I like don't know why, but it just feels like I'm not quite motivated to finish it, or it's not coming together. It's like the creative juices aren't flowing in the flow state like they do. So the energy of it is almost like the tide rolling in. And then as it rolls to the shore, I always feel the energy of like that tide reaching and stretching further and further onto the shore. So that would be the flow state. And then it recedes, ebbs back. The wave just kind of relaxes back into the ocean like an exhale almost. So that is what I am working on personally, is just this idea of ebb and flow and acknowledging that balance is BS. Do you think balance is BS for you in your life too? Or is this just me feeling this way? Let me know definitely in the comments wherever you're watching this. Or you could shoot me an email, joy@joyfulmedium.com, and just let me know your thoughts on that. But often I would get kind of freaked out about it. Luckily, I have had the most amazing best friend for many, many years of my life. I think like 26 years now we've been friends. So we talk almost every day. And I would tell her, like, I just don't know what's wrong. I'm just not feeling motivated. Like I lost the mojo. Even though I haven't always been a working psychic medium or teaching actively, I've always had creative aspects to the business I've done and to the work that I've done. And, or just even like as a parent, like sometimes we need to like be more creative or think of, different things to do, or different, in your home life, maybe you're needing to think of like different meal prep. And it would be times where like I just couldn't, I just had no inspiration, less motivation, less drive, felt exhausted. But I would almost get like forgetful every time and be like, is this just how it's going to be now? And then, on the converse of that, when I would have the times of flow or like creating a lot, or, doing a lot of like posts and creating them ahead and scheduling them ahead, and really just like making lots of outlines for content I want to create, and feeling that flow, that surge of energy, sometimes it looks like reorganizing my house or just really getting, like I said, getting stuff checked off that to-do list in a way that feels like, oh yeah, this is great. Like more satisfying than draining. I would think that state was going to be forever. And I'd be like, oh, this is such a great phase. And it would be like almost like a double letdown when that other cycle, that other half of the cycle, that ebb would come around again. Cause then I again would be like, I don't know, I've just had so much motivation and so much energy. And suddenly I don't. And it was my best friend who originally started pointing it out to me. Like, you go through these cycles. Like, this is just who you are. This is just how you're how you work as a person. And she's usually right. So I just have been evaluating it over the years. And for me, for so many years, I was really stressing myself out with this idea of balance. There was a time, and sometimes, I think the way we're using balance in effect is like squeezing everything in to the point where we're bursting at the seams of our life and ourselves and our mental health, and sometimes our physical health as well. Instead of like, no, the ease of balance, like that's how do we create that when there's so many things that we're needing to be doing at all times? When I was only, or primarily seeing massage therapy clients, I used to end up going into my office sometimes at like 5:30 a.m. so that I could get everything set up, have an hour to meditate quietly because I still had, a big household of noise happening at home. So I'd be like really I'd try to do some like exercise while I was there in the morning, while I needed to heat up towels is really why I needed to be there and not at home. So while all that was happening, I could like squeeze in these extra things for myself. And it just really got to the point where I was, like I said, bursting at the seams of my life and was super exhausted. And then trying to have every minute scheduled, and even the downtime felt like, didn't feel like restful or enjoyable. And I had this, I don't know, standard, this imaginary gold standard I was trying to reach about being in balance. And certainly when I've got everything dialed in perfectly and, everything scheduled and everything is happening, and all these, the way I kind of see it is like all different balls in the air, like juggling. Like if, we're juggling and health and wellness is one and nutrition is the other and taking care of family is another and your work is another and cleaning the house is another. And, oh yeah, I'm supposed to also have friends. And, oh yeah, I'm supposed to also have a social life. And, oh yeah, I'm supposed to take time for me. Oh, and I have to meditate. So plus so many more depending on your life. And I know I had more than that, but like all of these balls going in the air at the same time. And somehow that was supposed to be a balanced life because I was squeezing it all in by force. So I don't know. It's just something I've been thinking about and something I've been working on personally with myself. Now, one of the strategies that I use when I do this is, like I said, if when I'm in the ebb state, the more like receded, exhaling state, if I do get inspiration, generally I'm making a note about it. Sometimes if it's something that feels nourishing or like I want to do it, I will. Like maybe it's, maybe sometimes it's just an inspiration to like go walk in the park, and maybe I feel like, oh yeah, I could do that, so I'll go do it. Other times the inspiration that comes in, I just make a note of it. I use and abuse the note section of my phone and laptop, so I highly recommend it. So I have tons of notes with different ideas and things, because if I don't write it down, I will lose it. It will just kind of slide right out of my mind. And it's not that it's not useful. It's just I don't have the ability to really nurture it and bring it to fruition like it needs to be for like a talk or something, for example. Definitely not if it has research involved, not when I'm feeling like that. So that's part of what I do. The other part of what I do is try to have those notes and those things and those like things that need to get done prepared for when I am in more of the flow state, more of the getting things done state. Remembering that we are always, through every phase of our being, we are emotional creatures. And so often there'll be something that gets thrown in from the side. I have like a big chunk of paperwork that I need to do right now that I am just like dreading, even though, like I said, I'm on a little bit more of a flow state this week, luckily. And the other thing is, I don't always know when these phases are going to shift. Sometimes when I find myself wanting to like make more notes about things or put extra things on my to-do list, like I'm thinking of myself, not like something coming at me. Sometimes I know, okay, the tides are turning and I'm probably going to start feeling motivation soon. So sometimes I don't know when the state is going to shift, for example. Like I could be in, excuse me, in full force working on something, and then all of a sudden, I just feel like all the air got let out of my balloon. I'm feeling floppy. So, you know, really just trying to harness these different states of being when we can, because it all has value. I mean, like I said, we see it even in nature, in the winter, fall and winter, in both hemispheres, the nature does need to reset. We do need the leaves to be released from the trees and the harvest to be gathered and everything to go dormant so that it can be reset and refreshed and start again in the spring. So we're not different. Our bodies belong to this planet. So it just makes so much sense that we would be working in more of an ebb and flow cycle within ourselves. So really just seeing where that shows up in your life. Now, the other thing I do want to quickly mention is there are definitely things that I have to do kind of all the time as part of just regular life. Like we were saying, you have to get some kind of groceries and bring them at your house, unless you're someone who can order takeout every day, and then God bless you if you can. I cannot. So, sometimes it's like making sure that I have healthy food. But if I feel like I'm tipping into a place where I know, okay, I'm starting to feel my energy waning, I'm starting to feel like it's getting a little bit of a lull here, I might make sure I pick up some things that are a little more half prepped or whatever. I might like get the cauliflower that's already been cut up and put in a bag, just because I know I will use it in that form. Whereas sometimes, like when I'm in that ebb state, I might just be like, oh my God, I can't deal with cutting this whole cauliflower right now. I'm not doing it. So know yourself and try to set up things for yourself in a way that help, which is another reason why during the flow state, I try to get some extra little things done for myself. Like, for example, sometimes I'm just going to put all my business out there today. Sometimes in the ebb state, maybe I'm not like caught up on laundry. It's just me, so it's not like it's that much to even do. Or like recently I let my closet get a little messy, and then I can't find things when I need them. I don't get to use the things in the way that I like. So in the flow state, I might make a little effort to like tidy my closet, or if I feel a little bit of extra energy, like, oh yeah, I really want to get this back to organized and clean. I do like things tidy. It just makes me feel restful, but that might not be you. It's not everybody, certainly. But setting up things for yourself in a way, maybe when you're feeling great or one day a week, you do meal prep for yourself to make it easier for yourself the rest of the time. So there's things like that. Then there's also things, like I said, most days I do daily meditation. I try to stretch most days. I like to be trying to move my body most days, but it's just not been happening lately. So that's another piece that I'm working on, getting into that system of me, a flow of my schedule. But I do try to at least stretch, just because my body cries out for it if I don't. So it keeps me feeling better. So there's things like that. I try to make sure my bedtime is reasonable based on the rest that I need. So there's things that are happening all the time, even as we go. There's like just the business of life that we need to be doing. Bills need to be getting paid, and other things need to be getting done off. And I'm still seeing clients. I'm still teaching class. I still have one-on-one sessions with my students where I'm teaching them. So there's other things that are always happening in the mix. Maybe you have, kids, for example, or people that you take care of in your life. And so you still have to show up for those things, even when you're in an ebb state, or even if you're in a flow state and you feel like I could be getting some other stuff done right now. So it's trying to honor the things that are your responsibilities or that you've taken on, but also honoring your own personal cycles and your own energy ebb and flow. So knowing when you get to create flow. And I did make a little note here for my overachievers who find themselves busy in every minute, some additional suggestions for you. When agreeing to take something else onto your plate, like onto your to-do list, just check in with yourself. See if you're feeling like you're more in an ebb state or more in a flow state. For example, something that has to probably stay on your to-do list if your kiddo has a sports game and they're in the playoffs, for example, that is obviously going to rise to the forefront of your schedule. You're going to have responsibilities as part of that. Maybe it's getting them there, maybe it's attending, whatever it is in this example. So that's going to come to the forefront of your schedule. But maybe you have the option to not volunteer to make all the posters for next week's playoff game if you know you're in just like an ebb state and you're feeling very exhausted or very stretched thin is another way we often say it. So really just checking in with yourself, whereas the people pleaser in you or the overachiever might be like, yeah, we'll make those posters, no problem. I have craft supplies at home. Like I'll bring them next week. It's just checking in before you agree to more things on your own plate, signing yourself up for more stuff. And if someone needs you or asks you to do something else, it's also okay to say, you know what, let me get back to you tomorrow. And I just want to double check because I want to make sure I have, the time and energy to commit to what you're asking. So let me just give you an answer tomorrow. That really is a little trick I've been using forever. I don't do well when I'm put on the spot, and it's just, something I always work on. I don't always have the answer right away. I do need to gather my thoughts, or even sometimes just like look at my schedule and what else I've committed to, or my schedule for the week, for example, and be like, oh man, this is the only day I don't have something to do this evening. Like I really need that time. So you can just do it that way and then go back and say, oh, you know what, I can't do it this week, but I could next week. Or, you know what, that's just not something I can take on right now. Thank you so much for thinking of me. Let me know if you need help trying to figure out who might be great for that or not. You don't have to offer that either. It's okay. Oprah says no is a complete answer, which I love. You can just say, no, I'm not able to do that. Thanks. So that's just a little bonus tip. If you find that you are someone who like agrees to lots of extra things or has, like I said, every minute of your calendar is pretty scheduled, it's okay to say no to some things for your own, for yourself. It's okay to take care of yourself. I think we often forget that, especially as highly sensitive people. So, of course, this cycle, this ebb and flow is happening all year long for each of us in our own personal selves. And we're each on our own timeline. So my cycle, my ebb might be, a week, and then my flow might be 2 weeks, and then another ebb, and then another flow. And yours might be 1 and 1. You might have 1 week of ebb and 3 days of flow, or 1 week of flow. So we're each on our own different personal cyclical timeline, our own cycle. But as we move deeper and deeper into the time of year in the Northern Hemisphere anyway, or if you're listening in the summer in the North, it would be winter in the South. So when we're moving into a time of year when nature is in more of its own ebb state, right? Wintertime, fall, winter, we think of things going into that quiet, into that state of less production, into that state of rest. I just want to offer these thoughts and these ideas to you. Maybe as you feel that ebb state in the earth around you, the world around you, and certainly maybe in the quieted down times you have throughout the winter, there are just times in the winter where everything seems silent and quiet outside. Some of it's probably the weather, but some of it is like, the day, like later in the day on the day of a calendar holiday, for example, or, the week after a holiday, or kind of those lulls in between all the events that we have going on in any given season. So in those quieted down times that you have through winter, maybe you can have more permission to be aware of your own ebb and flow. Just honoring your own internal cycle so that you can kind of ride the flow and honor the ebb in a different way. Like I said, this is just something I'm working on in my personal development. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. If you are someone who just feels like the the marathon of life is great for you and balance is something you have worked out, I would love to hear from you if it is, because I'm sure you have some great tips. But if you've got the balance of life all worked out, congratulations. It's just something I could never figure out so far anyway. So this idea of ebb and flow just seems to be more true for me than the idea of balance. I'm sticking to what I said. Balance is BS. I said what I said. Anyway, let me know your feelings about it. Let me know if you can identify, even like just listening to this little conversation that we've just had, if you can identify, oh, yeah, I do kind of have this ebb and flow cycle within myself. I just never really thought about it. Or maybe you already know about this and you've already thought this all out for yourself. Either way, I would love to hear from you. You can shoot me an email, joy@joyfulmedium.com. Or you can also find me on all the social media platforms. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, at Joyful Medium is me. And hopefully you will tune in for our next episode. We have a lot of great things coming through the end of the year. Quickly, I just want to let you know, I do still have the free monthly community healing every month. So those are often scheduled out. You can find out all the details and sign up totally free at my website, joyfulmedium.com, in the events section. If you are someone who's interested in learning about signs, I have a free signs mini course called Sign Magnet. It is a 3-day mini course. You get them in your email each day, and it teaches you different ways to receive and use and understand signs with the universe, using numbers as signs. And then also, if you've lost someone that you love, or if you've lost someone in your life to the spirit world, like they've crossed over, it teaches you how to get signs with people on the other side. So that is totally free. You can sign up for that right on the homepage of my website, joyfulmedium.com, and it will come right into your email box. So make sure you mark it safe from spam. If you are liking this podcast, it's been almost a year, which feels crazy to me. I do intend to keep doing episodes through the end of the year and through all of the calendar holidays, just because, I don't know, for me as a podcast listener, I feel disappointed when my podcasts don't have new episodes during the holidays, because I feel like, man, that's when I need extra episodes to listen to. So I am going to continue to post through all of the seasons. And yeah, free community healing. What else did I want to tell you guys? Make sure that if you enjoy this podcast, that you like it and subscribe. If you look right under the homepage of the podcast on whatever platform you're listening, there's a way to subscribe. So even on YouTube, you can subscribe and make sure you're getting every episode. That really means a lot to me. And if you give a rating and or a review, I would also super appreciate that. And as an extra added honor, if there is a topic or an episode that resonates with you or that you feel like someone close to you would benefit from, I would mean a lot to me if you would share the episode with them so that they can, I don't know, receive the benefits too and be a part of our community. So I hope that this idea of ebb and flow resonated with you. I feel like most of us are kind of feeling like the idea of balance just is BS at this point, or, you know, it makes us feel like a failure, a lot of us. So that is what I'm working on personally. That is some growth that I've been doing in my life. And I invite you to join me on this ebb and flow journey if you'd like. I'm always grateful for you spending this time with me and listening to these chats. And if there are topics that you want to hear about or questions that you want to submit, you can submit them to admin@Joyful Medium. I always love topics and questions and suggestions, and I'll be doing a frequently asked questions episode right around the corner here. So there's still time to squeak in some of your questions if you would like. But for now, please know that I am wishing you strength in your flow and peace in your ebbs. And I'm hoping that you really find healthy ways to be honoring your own personal cycles, whatever they are and however they show up for you throughout the year, particularly in this time of quieting down and going more into the darkness. As far as, it's things just kind of feel much more quiet externally. So giving yourself permission to go within as well. I hope this has been helpful for you. I'm so grateful for you joining me. Big hugs, lots of love. Bye for now from inside Spirit Speakeasy.